issues affecting the people. The economy, State in Focus, weekdays on EBS.
You join us on the program State in Focus on Edo Broadcasting Service Television, today's choice. And on the show this morning, we're looking at the issues about insecurity. You will recall that yesterday there's been an attack again in Borno State, and there's been other incidences of insurgency, banditry, kidnapping, and then now you have the latest coming in, especially with what has happened in Edo State, where unfortunately some people took laws into their hands and they carried out some level of jungle justice that has been condemned by all the sundry, and even by the state government and governor. He's gone to commiserate and also pay his condolence visit and also appeal to the people, especially in the south, in the north, I beg your pardon, to sheathe their sword, and that everyone should come out now and continue to be our brother's keeper, especially when it comes to fighting back or reprisal, as it were. All hands must be on deck. So we'd like to look at what's happening generally in the country, and then we'll liken it to the latest of it that has come in terms of saying that people are hunters, and so they may be allowed to go wherever they want to go. But let's try to draw the line. Where does this hunting, where does it stop? Where does it begin from? And the limitations to where you can hunt, and the licenses that defines your rule of engagement, as it were. So we'll look at all of that on the show. It's the program State in Focus on Edo Broadcasting Service Television, today's choice, and I'm your anchor. I am Oyemese Ude, and joining me is Emeka Ote. Emeka Ote is a sport analyst and also a public commentator. I'd like to welcome him to the show. Good morning.
Thank you so very much.
Yeah. Emeka, I'd like you to begin, first of all, when we talk about the issue of security or insecurity. Even when we try to begin from home, they say that it's not a business for one person. Therefore, it will mean that if I see something and I say something, then something will be done. But now it appears that the kind of cartel that we have in the security architecture, especially the one fighting against us, as it was related that in Borno State, some of the questions when a sister station, a colleague of ours, interviewed some people in Borno State when he visited, he was saying that a number of these persons, especially even the indigents of Borno, he said that they said to him, the military has a crucial role to play, and even as we speak, it will appear that the military's hands are tied, but they say that they need lots of personnel, and they need enough personnel so that when they capture a place, they can have their presence there, having their men, settling down in those areas, just so that when they capture or they recapture, it will be said that yes, they have taken over, as it were. So I'd like you to look at these issues of insecurity, why we narrow it down, first of all, to what exactly we can do differently, because this issue has been there with us for more than 2 decades, and it still looks like we're asking ourselves, where should we go?
And in continuation of your question, and it keeps manifesting into different spectra, from Fulani headsmen, bandits,
it's taking a lot of faces.
And now
it is no longer as faceless as we thought it was initially.
Now it has been rebranded as hunters. In other words, some people are pushing this. These people didn't wake up one morning.
Under whatever guise.
Yes. These people didn't just wake up one morning and say we want to become hunters. They are now being pushed.
No, just before we get to the hunters, I just said that
you're talking about security.
We're going to relate that in respect of what happened in Edo State, in Uromi, some weeks ago. But just before we do that, a general perspective as to what is happening in Borno State. Again, Borno is in the heat.
Plateau.
Yeah, Plateau is also in the heat.
Benin
So,
was in the news for some time.
so please tell us what's
Now,
happening
this
differently.
whole security situation is multifaceted. It has different faces, and there are some very powerful people that are pushing this insecurity situation. In the
You're a
country.
legend now.
Yeah,
There are
it's-
some very powerful, because it would also appear that even the whistleblowers that said that, well, they were ready to blow the whistle to tell us who are these powerful persons, perhaps who are these people, you know, that were undercover, as it were. But
Yeah.
it just seemed like even mentioning their names with some people is suicide already.
Yeah. But you see, this whole thing cannot just happen just by itself. For instance, we have a situation in the country, talking about security, insecurity, that has predated even this regime back to the time of Buhari. It wasn't solved, it wasn't quenched, it wasn't stalled, and it persisted from that time till today. Now you'll be asking questions like this. How come with the humongous budget to the defense department to tackling insurgency and insecurity, still it persists, still it continues? And you are talking about how international the whole thing is, and we are not getting close to anything like a solution. People are dying.
No, when it appears that we're gaining ground, or we're making progress,
Like you
something
said,
drastically happens.
that's also an
in-
allegation. You say we are gaining ground. Where are this? I mean, some of the states in the core north are still, some of the local government are still being held or controlled by terrorists.
No, but that's not to say that the military has not made giant stride or success.
As giant as what? As giant
yeah.
as the military will come forward and say they are pursuing Toji. For the past, say we are closing in on him. We are about getting him. We'll get him in by next week.
Okay, that's what I said, that it's not something that any individual or persons will lay claim to, that, well, he or she has the way or the leeway out of this quagmire.
Okay,
but that it's a collective issue that everyone must deal with. For example, I mentioned the fact that if you see something, say something. Apart from literally coming out to blow the whistle, I mean, nationally, we have our local whistleblowers. I mean, these people are not spiritual beings. They are human beings, and they can be felt and touched. So if you see someone who perhaps is a stranger in your community or your domain, why don't you say, for example, well, last night I heard some people, I may not have seen them, but I mean, they were human beings and I hit them, and this was it. And so someone has to spark the fire. That's what I'm saying.
Now, it's like we're pretending about so many things. When you talk about strangers, are you talking about people from other states?
It could be in any form.
No,
A stranger
for
is a
instance,
stranger.
then you are going to the extreme. Are you saying you are going to restrict some people from movement?
No, we can't do that. The constitution says that, well, Nigerians have the
So
right
what
to
makes
move
them
from one state to the
what
other.
makes them strangers?
Yes, when they invade your territory, I mean, one would also,
when they intrude, not invade.
well, if you invade it negatively, you can be queried or questioned.
Okay, now I think the number one thing that we should be even tackling right now: why should some people be free to move around with arms under the guise of?
That's exactly what, because you also alleging that
we're
because
talking
of the
about-
freedom of movement that
We're
they
talking about
enjoy from the
insecurity.
constitution.
Now, some people say culturally they are supposed to be moving around with arms, daggers, bow and arrow. That's an abnormality. That's number one. Then some people say, okay, we have this gun because we are hunters. Wow. Then, but if I should be moving around,
Unlicensed.
good. So the ID card, like validates it. So if I go about with an ID card hunter, I will be moving around also with my gun. Will that be permissible? So if we have a law that it's binding on everybody, we won't be having all this kind of problem. Some people don't feel
Where the law is not for some,
yes.
nobles
So
and
you see, the problem starts from there. Something must be holding everybody together. Now, you cannot, for instance, let me give you something about Kano. In Kano State, you cannot drink alcohol. There is a law that stops you from drinking alcohol.
and they held to that
And
very
they hold on to that
strictly.
law. A Coas court, I mean, some civil
But
rights...
isn't that more of a Sharia?
No, wait, I'm sure I'm coming. So some civil rights people took Kano State to the ECOWAS court, and Kano State government responded. Say, look, this is a state guided by rules and regulations,
Sharia
and
law.
98% of the people we are going to protect their interests. He's talking about Sharia. So in other words, whatever outcome of the decisions of the court is not binding on them. So if a state like
as though there are states out of Nigeria, though the constitution grants them a special.
If Kanu can make laws to direct their affairs, why can't Edo State say you cannot move around with arms? It's against the law of Edo State.
Edo State cannot just unilaterally take that decision. Edo State will be bounded by. That's what I said now, because all of these things have their rules and their laws. So if Edo State comes up with anything like that, it would also mean that for the nature of where you mentioned where the Sharia law is very permissible, we do not have that here. So that in itself,
law is law. We just say if the government can promulgate anything like a law or anything
like
to guide people, say in Edo State, for instance, you cannot move about with sharp cutlasses, cudgets, anything that you can use to decapitate anybody. Under the guy say you are a farmer or a farmhand, you move about with sharp cutlass. You go to bypass, all the bypasses. You see hundreds of all these people
loitering around
with cutlasses, machetes, sharp. So just think of a situation if maybe they are provoked or instigated or motivated to do something, it's going to be mayhem. And you are talking about insecurity, when that alone is a trigger for the same insecurity. So we can start now by plugging the stopgap. Say, first of all, you don't move about with arms. That is the first way to check yourself. Talk less of dingon. I will also see reports from different bushes, different enclaves where headsmen with AK-47, and nothing is happening. Although the government say the police say they are doing something about it, but the boldness and the brazenness of these people moving about with sophisticated arms, frightening people, pushing people away from their own bushes. Then we come back again, say, if for instance this Fulani headsmen and everything about this insurgency and all these fight, banditry, kidnapping has been going on since. Now, in Esa Central, so many things have been happening, though we are not getting to hear some of these things. The havoc, the mayhem, the killing.
Yes. After that,
yes, inside the bushes. No, before that incident, the kidnapping and everything that's been happening. I have people that have gotten reports of the people don't go to farm. Now, some of my friends here send Gary from Benin to the villages instead of the other way around. So people don't go to the farms anymore. Now,
and that's going to have a huge effect on our economy and even
food
on the
security. Food security. That's what we're talking about. Security, insecurity. We are talking about food insecurity. All the same. People don't go to the farm. Prices of food is skyrocketing because of these people forcing people out of the farms. The farmers do not have access to their farms, and the government say they are going to tackle that. They are going to make food supply like.
Even the state government has actually rolled out billions of naira to encourage
farmers to go back to the farm. But how can they go back to the farm?
I think it's a working process, because the first thing is to
check on security.
The first thing is to first commend the move that he's more concerned about the people's welfare and how we can groom or grow the economy. So I think that's a work in progress. So when this is done, obviously he will not leave the issue of security out of it, because the both go together.
Every state should devise its own means of checking insecurity. You do not need to wait.
But I do not think that it will share the same thought with Zulum, who says that, everyone should not protect themselves, even the residents. It would also mean that you're aiding and abetting people taking up arms and, wantonly
fighting back. There is a psychology in crime. For instance, if I know that you are armed, I'll be circumspect about attacking you.
I don't have something to.
So, but when I know you are vulnerable, when I know you do not have what it takes to retaliate, I will step over you. So by the time you want to attack, and you know the people you are attacking are, kitted to the hilt, you think twice. And the only way you can tackle this kind of thing is you match force for force. I'm not saying that we should take up arms, but that there should be some kind of force.
Okay, what kind of force will you be suggesting now?
Yeah.
Because it will be
There was
very
a time.
relative. What do you mean by the force?
There was a
being
time.
of
There was a time we had the vigilantes. There was a time the hunters. All the vigilantes, they came out, but they were disarmed. They were told to.
Something happened.
Yes,
in the past administration.
So all the arms were retrieved. Now
did we retrieve all of them? That's another
probably all of them. So everybody's more like a sitting dog. And these people, the so-called kidnappers, turned hunters now, know that there is nobody there to confront them or even stop them.
So perhaps that's why they can have.
Yes, they know the situation. And let's not be too I don't know, pedestrian with this thing. This is bigger than it is. Forget the nomenclature of hunters. They might not be hunters. Okay,
well, you're a legend again, but let's come to again, because you mentioned hunters, as it were. The act of hunting, it prescribes that if a person occupies a certain area, there are restrictions, there are regulations as to where perhaps your movement takes you from one place to the other. And like it's done in all international climes, you would need some level of permission. You will need some level of what will I say now, permits, to enter into another place, even if you were hunting and all that. And then a number of persons will actually ask the question, what are these hunters actually hunting for? Are they hunting for space? Are they hunting for species? Or are they hunting for even human lives? So even though it appears we're begging the question when the obvious is before us, and the act of hunting is a way back thing, it's almost a traditional thing, but we have never seen it deteriorate to this extent that people would have sophisticated arms and say that it's in the guise of I'm a hunter, so therefore I will be getting
they said
loose.
they were seeing with dingoes.
But later on they said they were hunters.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying.
Just so
they were hunting with dingoes.
Just so that we don't fall prey, to what had happened, very unfortunately in Rumi, where people had to now go into jungle justice and people were killed. One would have expected that those kind of persons, you hand them over to the police and then the police will take it from there. But again, there's also been this issue about the conspiracy theory that many a times those kind of people, they say
they get free easily.
They get free, and then because they have one big man or one big
we started like that. We started like
person,
that.
That they called, So how do we now look at these little bottlenecks?
I think what government
and
should
deal
do,
with it, just so that
what the Edo State government should do: ban hunting. No more hunting in Edo State. So if you are coming from Kano, don't come to Edo State to hunt. We don't have wildlife for hunting. As a matter of fact, we want to preserve our wildlife right now. Every government, every state can even devise policies. Preserve our wildlife, no more hunting. I think there are millions of acreage of forest in the north. How can you traverse from Kano? You enter you enter Kaduna, then you come down to Niger State. Then you come down to
days on
forest left and right. Then you move down to Kogi. Then suddenly you found forest in Ovia and
where there's some level of synergy amongst these supposed hunters. When they go on their hunting.
What are they? No, the question you asked, what are they hunting? Of course, the hunters we have here will hunt grass cutter, rabbit, bush pig, antelope. Abi, we have people doing them here. So what you mean? What it means that after pursuing the original hunters from the bushes, after the Fulani herdsmen have pursued the original hunters, then they now call their own brother hunters to come and replace them. What's going on here? Edo State government should ban hunting for the next 1 year. So let me see where they are going to hunt. Or rather, they should go back.
Let's also look at some of the effect that would also have.
What effect?
If they say that the act of hunting is banned from Edo State, what about our local hunters too? We will not also have the
at least it will allow for the
we would also have taken them out from
it will allow for the few animals remaining now to regenerate,
so that they don't go into extinction.
Exactly.
Even though the law that prohibits people from hunting wildlife is still there. And
there is a law on that.
Exactly.
Yes.
And then people.
It's a worldwide thing. Protection of wildlife.
Yes.
Meanwhile, some people are given ID cards to come and
access.
hunt, to come and access, to come and hunt. Meanwhile, they won't hunt it there. They won't hunt this wildlife and all these animals in the north. You come to Edo State to hunt. Who does that?
Okay, we'll take a short break here, and then like you asked me, who does that? We'll find out when we come back. Stay with us.
Politics, governance, issues affecting the people, the economy, State in Focus, weekdays on EBS.
Thanks for joining us. If you're just joining us, it's the program State in Focus on Medo Broadcasting Service and Division, Today's Choice. And I'm yours sincerely, your anchor on the program. And I still have my guest in the studio, Emeka Ote, helping us navigate through some of the insecurity challenges that we're going through as a nation and as a state and as a people. What do we do differently this time? Because it appears to me that the war on insecurity, or the war on fighting insurgency, banditry, it's like a war on endlessly not won. There seems to be so much strategy. I mean, you have the government strategizing, and then you have the re-strategizing, but it just seems like we're dancing in circles. Even with the expertise, and then
you said something.
the change, even in the military, it just seemed like
well, going around in circles.
people are helpless.
Yes. There's something you said earlier where you said the defense headquarters are also complaining with lack of personnel or not enough personnel. Because, for instance, in the real security situation, if you are doing mopping up operation, if you want to, for instance, say, okay, let's take local government by local government, you want to mop out Oredo or Ipoboka, or read Ipoboka from
insurgents.
No, the bandits and the kidnappers. You start from Ramat Park, and you just do a semicircle, and you are just moving. There will be helicopters, there will be sniffer dogs.
Okay, you just reminded me now about the nature of the sophistication in which the terrorist attacks Borno State, in a couple of days. It was said that they used drones.
Of course, that's what I'm talking about.
And I'm asking myself, the use of drones, isn't it known to us already? Don't we have it already?
As a matter of fact, drone is not even high-tech anymore. There are even more intelligent drones than these battery-operated things. There are
AI and all that.
No, there are drones that looks like a small plane. It will be flying very high, but getting all the intelligence, all the footages and everything that they need to know, and feeding it back to the command sector, and they will know where these people are. So we're talking about you mopping up, and you are moving. You move, you displace, and you replace. That means when you cover a camp, you have already displaced the camp. Then you fill it with personnel to take over the place. You cannot just go and then you come back and go back to your. They will come back. So you
that's what seems to be happening now.
You take one local government and the other. So when they see that you are coming in mass like that, they will now run to the next local government. You know you have taken over this